Hey everybody, I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you guys are enjoying the class so far. And I know we just last week we had all of our first sermons that we did on video. And I just want to say I'm proud of you guys. I mean, I can definitely tell some of you who preach more often as opposed to some of you who this might be your first time to ever do it. And that's good. It's a great learning process. It is a great learning curve. There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be ashamed of. It just takes time to learn and to get comfortable in front of a camera, in front of people, and so on and so forth. I want to take a moment to address something that you guys just read the first three chapters of the Haddon Robinson book. This one, hopefully you read that. Anyway, everybody wrote a review on it, so that was good. But Sue brought up a point in here on something that she read throughout those first three chapters that I thought was very great. That she saw it and that she brought it up even within her review. And that was There's a point in there where the author talks about something to the effect of having sermons prepared for a year, and at a time. And Sue kind of made the comment. She goes, "Man, that just doesn't seem like, I don't understand how to do that. It kind of seems like that might be squashing the Holy Spirit. And how do you allow the Holy Spirit to move if that is the case? And things like that." I wanted to talk about this because it is something that I have actually personally had this very same internal conversation with God about, and had to pray through over the years. Several years ago, whenever we first started the church, for lack of a better term, I kind of prided myself as a flow and go kind of guy. I would always use that as my reasoning and just sit there and say, well, I don't want to squash the Holy Spirit. I want to make sure that I'm always listening to what he's saying. And so I'm just going to basically fly by the seat of my pants and kind of wing it. I was good at it, by and large. However, it was not producing life to the congregation. And it was very, very interesting because God began to take me on this journey that I hadn't really ever experienced. And he started having me looking at other denominational churches and some of these other larger churches. And he said, "Do you see their structure? Do you see their order? Do you see the way that they do things?" And my response was honestly one of a lot of pride that said, "I do. Can you believe how terrible they are? I mean, why aren't they more like me?" And God began to just really convict me and say, "But they're reaching people. My Holy Spirit is flowing through them. They are doing things. They are doing what I'm asking them to do. And I need you to ask me what I want you to do." And I remember I sat there and I thought, "God, no, what do you mean you need me to ask you what I'm supposed to do? I know what I'm supposed to do. I've been doing this all my life. I've been in church. And since I've been a pastor, I know how to listen to the Holy Spirit. I know how to go. I know how to flow. I can do all of these things. I don't need to ask you, because obviously the way I'm doing it is the best way to do it." Right? Only to then finally ask God and to be shown that yes, he's a God of life and he's a God of order. See, so often we have a tendency, depending on our denominational upbringing or our charismatic upbringing or however you want to say it, with our own church family history, so often we have an attitude that church services need to be one or the other. They have to be an either or in our mind rather than a both and. God, during that season of life, God actually spoke to me the verse in Proverbs 21:31 where it says that how does it say it? It says that the horse is prepared for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. And God began to show me, he says, what I'm doing right now is I'm basically, he kind of, took me in my mind, back to these, that old times of where horses were being prepared for battle. And he took me in my mind to, me just sitting there basically saying, yep, if a battle ever comes, God's going to win it. He's going to win it. He's going to win it because he's God, which isn't necessarily untrue because he is God. But there is also the responsibility that I have as a pastor. There's a responsibility I have as a preacher to make sure that I am preparing the horse for battle. I'm putting all the effort into it that I need to put into it so that when that moment comes, I am prepared for God to bring the victory. Now that those things, they can definitely be overdone in either direction. People can very easily, sit there and over prepare and, and map everything out to the point that it says, this is what we have to do. But at the same time, we can also be so underprepared and just say, well, I have to flow with the Holy Spirit. And neither one of those is a correct response. We need to be preparing that horse for battle so that the victory can belong to the Lord. And the way that God showed that for me is that he's saying, here's, sometimes he'll say, here's a series that I'm wanting you to do. And as I begin to kind of get an outline, kind of get an outline for a series, it might be a month or two at a time. I'm always willing and able and seeking and saying, okay, God, here's my plan, but how is it now that you're wanting it? Are you still wanting to say this, or is it exactly the way I have planned, or do you want to make little changes here and there so that, Holy Spirit, what are you saying still even within this plan? We can, I think, far too often as charismatic believers, a lot of times we have a tendency to throw out order because we just don't think for whatever reason that's God. When God is very order, he is very, very much a God of order, and he is also a God of life. Life and chaos go really hand in hand, but you also have to have order within there in order to actually make things function properly. And so it is very interesting, and it is a balancing game, and sometimes you're going to probably swing in one direction or the other depending on where you are, depending on your own comfort zone, depending on your own personality. Most of us fall back to the things that is most familiar to us, and so that is something that we definitely tend to do. However, it is also something that we need to make sure that we are putting in the work to do what God is asking us to do, even if it's uncomfortable, of ordering things for a specific period of time, while at the same time making sure that our hearts are open, that our ears are open, and we're saying, Holy Spirit, what are you saying? Are you still wanting me to do this like I felt you were saying me to do, or are you wanting to take me in a different direction at this moment and do something a little bit different, or to change these things? It should not be an either or. It should definitely be a both and. So I'm not sure if anybody else even maybe caught that in the book as you're reading it, but I was so glad that Sue did, because it is something that for me is a very personal thing that I have a lot of experience with, and I just wanted to share my own story with you guys in that. So hope you guys are doing well. Like if you guys have any other questions, if you have anything else going on, please feel free to ask. And so anyway, I hope you're all doing well. We'll see you next week.